Hello everybody and welcome to Omnipoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. I'm Jack and today I'm here with another deck analysis. This one's going to be for the expanded format on a nice little combo between Trevenant BREAK and Dusknoir. A really cool concept and a deck that I'm really enjoying at the moment. So you can jump straight into it with the new BREAKPoint Phantump, 50 HP, Ascension for a colorless energy. Search your deck for for a Pokemon that evolves from Phantump and put it onto this Pokemon. Really nice way of being able to get into the Trevenant turn 1 if you're going second. It means you don't have to waste your supporter for the turn. You can use like a Brigette or a Juniper rather than using the Wally to evolve into the Trevenant to stop your opponent using their items. Obviously, if we go first, we're just going to want to directly go straight for this Wally. But this way we can at least just sort of have another reliable way of getting into the Trevenant on your first turn, even if you go second and can attack first. Your opponent gets an extra turn of items, but that's the difference between going first and second. That's not any sort of real big deal. Of course, Trevenant with Forest's Curse, a one-sided item lock has always been really powerful. Whilst Trevenant is active, your opponent can't use items, but you can. So yeah, that's why we want to be able to try and use these Wallies on turn 1, or use Ascension on our own turn 1 if we're going second, to get into Trevenant as quickly as possible, and indeed stop our opponent from using items. Tree Slam is also a really nice attack. It means that whilst the Trevenant BREAK does sort of a flat 30 or flat 3 damage counters to everything on your opponent's bench, sometimes if they don't have enough bench Pokemon, you're doing more damage by doing Tree Slam, and it also means you can reach for knockouts a little bit earlier than you would be able to if you were just doing this flat sort of 3 damage counters every turn with the Trevenant BREAK. So yeah, it means that we can reach for knockouts a turn or two early if we need to, just to start trying to go ahead in prize races, things like that. The deck is going to aim to try and take 6 prizes in a turn. Maybe I've got a really tickly cough, so you're going to have to excuse me. But yeah, maybe trying to take 6 prizes on things like Shaymins and Jirachis, all in one turn with Sinister Hand on Dusknoir, which I'll go over in a second. But if we need to deal with an attacker there and then, Tree Slam does indeed give us access to do so. And then the BREAK has 160 HP, which means it's really difficult to knock out, especially on a non-EX, giving up only 1 prize. And the spread damage is really big, especially when your opponent's got like a large bench size. It means that they can, it can rack up really quickly. If they've got a 5 Pokemon bench, you're doing 180 damage across 6 Pokemon, so they can't really get rid of it all in one turn without some sort of universal healing. And it means that we can then manipulate the damage like the next turn to be able to knock out a lot of EXs in a turn potentially, which is really nice. Onto the Dusknoir line, we are using the Boundaries Crossed Duskull and the Flashfire Dusclops. Confuse Ray on both of these guys just to try and stop your opponent from attacking, or doing that extra little bit of damage can be nice and helpful as well. Curse Drop isn't really that useful, especially as it's really expensive. But having Confuse Ray does mean your opponent may actually think twice about even attacking if they're you can perhaps manipulate it so they've only got 30 HP left with Sinister Hand, which is really nice. Of course, we are indeed running this Dusknoir pretty much Dusknoir line just for this Sinister Hand ability, letting you rearrange your opponent's damage counters at any point, which basically leads to 6 prize turns with Sinister Hand, which is absolutely insane. Such a powerful ability. It's always been really powerful. But when you have such a good spread deck like this, well, I suppose the BREAK is probably the better one to show, really. But the normal one can spread as well. But when you've got such a powerful spread attack like this, it means you can really well abuse this Sinister Hand, especially as you can be doing upwards of 120 counters, 120 damage worth of counters in a turn, across a lot of Pokemon. So yeah, the Dusknoir just basically leads us to 6 prize turns, which is really insane. We do indeed run 2 Jirachi. I don't know why that shows the Shaymin before the other Jirachi, but yeah, we're running 2 Jirachi, basically search out turn 1 Wally. Turn 1 Wally leads us to turn 1 item lock on the first turn of the game, meaning our opponent can't use any items throughout the game unless they have a way of getting around this Trevenant or Hex Maniacing, things like that, which is really annoying for them. So having 2 means we have all the more outs to try and get this turn 1 Wally. And then of course we do still have the Shaymin as well, just in case we don't, well, we still need 1 or 2 things on that turn 1, or maybe later on in the game we still have a Shaymin to set up if we need it. And then finally, Wobbuffet is really useful for a couple of reasons. First off, Psychic Assault can actually do huge damage when paired with the Sinister Hand, because you can sort of choose how much damage you're doing. Obviously, Psychic Assault doing 10 damage plus 10 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. Well, you can manipulate how many sort of damage is, how much damage is on your opponent, to then make sure you're doing enough to knock it out in a turn. And with Dimension Valley, this means Psychic Assault can actually be used for 1 energy as well, which is really nice. But another really useful part about Wobbuffet is the Bide Barricade ability. If you perhaps don't have the access to turn 1 Trainer Lock, we can go for turn 1 Ability Lock at least on everything that isn't Psychic. Also means that we have some form of counter against Archeops. Obviously this is a very heavily evolution based deck, so we do need some sort of counter against Archeops. Bide Barricade does indeed give us that. It means we can throw the Wobbuffet active, which shuts off the Archeops. We can then evolve as much as we like, and then just go back into whichever attack, well, yeah, pretty much it's always going to be the Trevenant, but we can go back into the Trevenant and stop our opponent's items and still have access, still have been able to get into this Trevenant if we needed to. So that's really nice. It means that we don't auto lose to anyone that gets a turn 1 Archeops with the Maxi engine in Yveltal, which is definitely an issue without Wobbuffet being in the deck, because it then means we would have to run a Hex in the deck, which is a lot less reliable, especially if you want to be able to get that turn 1 Wally as well. So yeah, onto the trainers. We've got 1 Computer Search. The most consistent ace spec. I don't really know how much to sort of boast about this card. This card is insanely good. It means that we can really, it's another out for us to be able to get Wally turn 1. It's another card that gets us into the Dusknoir combo. This kind of is a combo-y deck. You do need quite a lot of pieces to pull off the full combo, but when you have a full board setup, it is really strong. So in pretty much any combo-based deck or setup-based deck, Computer Search is pretty much always going to be your ace spec of choice, unless you have another specific one you need. 3 Level Ball, obviously the 2 Jirachi is pretty much 2 of our main outs to being able to get Wally. This turns 3 Level Ball plus 4 Ultra Ball into turn 1 Wally, so that's two outs with the Wally plus 2 outs with the Jirachis, that's 4, plus 4 outs with the Ultra Ball, that's 8, plus another 3 outs, that's 11 outs on turn 1 to getting into the Wally, including the Wally themselves. So that means we are going to be hitting turn 1 Wally pretty rapidly and very consistently as well. Definitely means we have access to Jirachi pretty much throughout the game as well. Once we've used one, we can kind of save the other for a little bit later on. So being able to level ball, this deck doesn't like discarding too many resources. We are running 4 Ultra Ball, but we are running a Super Rod as well because it doesn't like discarding too much. So we do have access to like free ball search into Jirachi, into a supporter later on in the game if we need it as well. 2 Rare Candy, of course, just for this 3-2-1-3-1-2 line of the Dusknoir. I don't know that I said it was a 3-1-2 line. It's a 3-1-2 line. And then it's a 4-4-2 line of the Trevenant Break, by the way. We've got 1 Super Rod. Like I said, the deck doesn't like discarding too much. A lot of pieces are needed to pull off the full sort of Trevenant Break and Dusknoir combo. These are technically 2 stage 2s, so having to run 2 stage 2s has always been inconsistent and clunky, and sometimes it means that we do have to discard resources that we perhaps wouldn't really want to otherwise. But having a Super Rod does mean we can perhaps throw away a Trev Break early and know that we can get it back later on if we need to. So yeah, it just gives us that extra little bit of recovery that means we can sort of throw some resources away more than we perhaps would be able to if we didn't have it. Just to ensure we can get this setup as quickly as possible. For Trainer's Mail, like I say, a bit of a combo-y deck, so you want to be able to draw into your, again, well, yeah, pretty much anything you need. You've then got another 4 cards that can find the ball searches. I didn't even include Computer Search, so that's 12, plus technically these can get into any of those items. So I guess potentially 16 cards, so over a quarter of the deck just dedicated on finding this turn 1 Jirachi or this turn 1 Wally into this turn 1 Trevenant. So you are going to be getting this turn 1 Trevenant really consistently. And the Trainer's Mail just helps to do that even more so. Also helps when getting things like Computer Search and Rare Candy. I think Trainer's Mail is probably one of the most important cards in the expanded format, just because there's so many even more useful trainers in the form of Ace Specs and things like that. So yeah, definitely really, really useful. Of course, Ultra Balls, not only searching for this turn 1 Jirachi, but also getting our pieces out for things like Dusknoir, the Shaymin, the Wobbuffet. All of these pieces are really, really useful. Only so much is searchable with Level Bal, so like the Phantump and the Duskull line, and then the Jirachi line as well. They're all searchable, but like, for some of these chunkier things like the Dusknoir and stuff, we can't use Level Ball, so we do still have to run an upward count of Ultra Balls just to be able to get these final 2 sort of big Pokemon towards the end of the game, or this one in particular. You want this guy as early as possible, really. And then 3 VS Seeker. 4 is usually the number played, but 3 kind of is okay in this deck. You're not going to be well, there's no compressor, so there's no like compressor sort of combo-y plays you can play with it. Turn 1 you're going to be playing Wally or potentially Brigette if you can't find a way of getting into the Wally, or you can't find a way of getting into the item lock. You potentially would rather fill your bench instead. So sometimes the Wally, well, pretty much the turn 1 player will always be Wally or Brigette. Very rarely Sycamore. So you don't need many other supporters once you've got the turn 1 Wally or the turn 1 Brigette, which means you're not going to be consistently using the VS Seekers to sort of bring back supporters back to carry on digging for resources, considering pretty much all your resources lie in these 2 Pokemon here. So you don't really need 3, I don't think. It does mean, but we do obviously still have access to it, so we can get the teammates later on down the line, or get the N later on down the line that we perhaps don't want to use on turn 1. You don't need 4, I don't think. I wouldn't want to go to 2. I think 3 is fine. Just because you don't need the 4th, you're better off putting it as like a 4th Trainer's Mail or something, I think, just to try and get as many outs to this VS Seeker, or to this Jirachi, sorry, as possible. So yeah, onto the supporters themselves. We've got 1 Brigette. If you can't get the turn 1 lock, I think Brigette is definitely a really, really good option instead. It means you can get sort of 2 Duskull and another Phantump, or 2 Phantump and a Duskull. Things like that is really, really nice. It does get you into the Wobbuffet as well. But yeah, it just sort of fills your bench. Obviously, because it is a setup deck, you do need a lot of bench Pokemon just to be able to make sure one of these bench Pokemon does live through to see the strategy complete. So therefore, we do want to fill the bench with lots of different little guys if we can't get into this turn 1 Wally to reach the lock on turn 1. We then have, of course, 1 N. A card I really miss in Standard. N is really, really strong. It's definitely a comeback card, and even more powerful considering we try and take 6 prizes towards the end of the game, so N is going to be really, really useful for us until the very last 1 or 2 turns of the game, where we're going to start taking prizes really, really rapidly. So it means that N is often getting us 5 or 6 cards pretty much throughout the game, even though we are always still getting closer to reaching that win with Dusknoir. So N has even more value in this deck, I think, than some other decks. Excuse me. But yeah, so definitely a really, really nice card in a deck that kind of slows down the rate of play, and then sort of speeds up right towards the end and takes 6 prizes. 3 Sycamore, or Juniper. Again, very similar sort of vein to VS Seeker. You don't need 4. You're going to be running into Wally turn 1, or potentially Brigette turn 1. And if you're going running into Brigette turn 1, potentially Wally turn 2. Those kind of plays are you're very rarely going to be wanting to use the Juniper first, because you want to be using Wally first instead. So it's definitely really important to know that you don't need 4, simply because you don't want to be using it as much as, or as frequently as some other decks would like to be seeing the Sycamore on turn 1. Similarly, later on down the line, you're going to be wanting to use teammates to get you things like Rare Candy Dusknoir, or Trevenant Break and then something else. So Sycamore slash Juniper has a lot less value because there are a lot of supporters we use at specific times rather than just any time throughout the game. We want to be using these guys early and then these guys a little bit later on. So Sycamore only slash Juniper only has a little bit of value in the middle of the game, so you don't always need 4. And I think cutting the 4th for a consistency card definitely improves the chance of being able to get that turn 1 Wally out as consistently as possible and start locking from as early as possible. As I just mentioned, we've got 2 teammates. When one of your Pokemon goes down, which it definitely can do, 168 HP isn't huge, especially considering Trevenant has Dark Weakness, which means Yveltal it's really easy to knock these things out with when you're playing a Yveltal deck. It means that you will be going down relatively frequently, or you will against Yveltal you will, but you will go down at some points. This way we can get into things like Rare Candy Dusknoir, more energy, pretty much anything we need. So yeah, there's no. I think 2 is really nice count in here, especially as we can sort of ditch one early if we need to with like an Ultra Ball, or if we do have to use a Juniper, something like that, and then have access to it later on with VS Seeker. Definitely because it's like a setup deck, a really good sort of combo card if you do happen to go down on prizes and will lose one of your attackers. You can sort of carry on your strategy from there, and Teammates is just a really strong card for any setup deck, really. And then, of course, the 2 Wally. I've mentioned how good it is. I don't really feel it needs too much justification. It means you can get the turn 1 Trevenant even if you're going first. You can even build up a Dusknoir if you really want to. There's no no real negative reason of playing 2. I suppose 1 would mean you could put 1 more consistency card in, but with, like I've just stated how many outs there are, I think it was like 16 outs with the 2 Wally, so it means 25% of your deck is purely based on getting this turn 1 Trevenant. And then once you've got the turn 1 Trevenant, you're sort of laughing because your opponent can't use any trainers. So yeah, I think the 2 Wally just ensures that even more, because if you end up prizing 1, it means that you can't pull off the turn 1 anymore, and you want to be able to get this turn 1 Trevenant as frequently as possible. So yeah, it means that we're not too worried about prizing one of these guys. Finally, onto the stadiums, we've got 3-dimension Valley. Sorry, means that Trevenant Break can attack for 1 energy, which is really nice, as can Wobbuffet, and Trevenant can attack for 2 energy. Anything like that is always really nice. 2 Floatstone and 2 Mystery Energy, meaning that we can have the Floatstone provide us free retreat on things like the Dusknoir and the Trevenant, but the Mystery Energy also gives us slightly nicer retreats. Means we only actually have to attach. I'm not actually sure. I must admit, I'm not actually sure how Mystery Energy works. I think it's that it reduces it by 2, but you still have to pay. You would still have to pay 1. I don't know whether you can pay that with the Mystery Energy, or when you take the Mystery Energy off for retreating, you lose its effect. That's actually going to be something I investigate a little bit later on today. But yeah, it just reduces the retreat of everything. It means that we can go in between 2 Trevenants to try and keep them alive if we need to. And yeah, it's just really nice. Also, it means that we have access to being able to just throw up Wobbuffet to stop our opponent and slow our opponent down, and not have to worry about retreating with this 2 retreat cost. It means we can just sort of throw him as a free retreater, basically, and take a knockout if we need to later on with Psychic Assault. And to round it off, we've got 6 Psychic Energies to meet the requirement of all of our dudes to do some huge damage to things like Silent Fear. So yeah, it's such a fun deck. I can't wait to try and find a really good game with you, for you guys with this deck. It's so much fun to play. So yeah, I'm going to jump onto the ladder and see what I can find. Okay, so we've got ourselves a game here against Carlo, I think his name was. Yeah, Carlo. We lose the coin flip, which means we're probably going to be going second. I mean that we won't get the turn 1 item lock, or we won't get our opponent to not use items. We may get the item lock turn 1 using Ascension or something like that, but hey. He's considering it, so maybe he's even going to let us go first. That would be really nice. Come on, Carlo, let us go first. I promise I won't turn one item lock you. Ah, he chooses to go first. Okay, kind of expected. We start Jirachi. That's really rough. And we see a dark deck. Okay, does have a Getsis as well. Getsis will be really big here. 4 cards. Though we do have the end, so it's okay. Does have a Pokemon this time. I'm gonna draw the extra card. If he gets, if we get an item and he gets a Getsis, then it's an extra card for him. But this is going to get us into the lock, hopefully a little bit easier. We get the Wobbuffet. I can't see him knocking us out in a turn, so I'm going to hold it. He starts Shaymin, so we've both had a pretty rough start. Hopefully he can't get into... I didn't see whether there was any fighting Pokemon. So we could see an Archeops here. That could be annoying. He's going to get himself a Hooper. Still got that tickly cough from a couple of videos ago, so you will have to excuse me, I'm sorry. Just want it to go away. So he's going for the Hooper. Probably going to see... yeah, kind of standard. Yveltal, Keldeo, Shaymin. Has the laser as well. So he's going to be getting some value off of this Shaymin here. And we fall asleep. Just the Shaymin for 3 or 4 cards. I didn't see how many it was. Up to 6. Gets the Toad as well, so we're not going to be seeing a maxi turn. Has to discard a laser and a patch. That's nice. No real signs that he's playing a maxi deck yet, so it might just be an old school sort of Yveltal deck. Ultra Ball. Not sure whether he knows we're playing Trevenant yet. The Jirachi doesn't really tell him anything. Psychic Backs may tell him something, but may not. I'm not sure. Goes to the Dark Patch. Rushes in to the Keldeo. Is he going to free retreat? Free retreats into the Hooper. Okay. And we will see if we are awake. I'd imagine our opponent's finished there anyway. We are indeed awake, so that is really nice. We get the D-Valley. How many cards can we get down to here? This is an insta-play. Might have to get rid of the Super Rod and the Candy here. Could be the Brigette though. Okay, let's get rid of the Super Rod and the Brigette, I think. To get ourselves a Shaymin. I'm going to bench the Wobbuffet. I know it's not really that important, but I will anyway. I'm going to VS-Seeker back the Brigette. Just to get another card out of our hand. And we're going to get 2 Phantump and a Duskull, I think. I don't like that it stops you from looking after you've chosen. That really annoys me. I'll play the D-Valley and then go for the Shaymin. Hopefully we get a an energy and a Floatstone here. Floatstone, no energy. Ah, the punish. Okay. So we'll just go for the Floatstone on the Jirachi. Free retreat into the Wobbuffet and pass it over there. The Wobbuffet means he can't rush and retreat with the Keldeo, which is nice. So he does have to find a way of manually retreating this Hooper or picking it up or something. We have seen an AZ, so he could VS-Seeker AZ for it, but he may not. Goes to the computer search, so we are probably going to be seeing a way of being able to retreat this. Potentially a Floatstone or something. Gets a laser. Don't know whether he got the laser or don't know whether he may have just had the laser. It goes to the chorus, nice. Gets the muscle band on the Toad and the DC on the Toad. Will he have... I really hope he doesn't, because it means we can candy into Dusknoir next turn. Let's keep our fingers crossed. He perhaps... yeah, he may have just completely forgotten about the fact that he can't rush in. We're still asleep, but that's okay, because we have ourselves a Dusknoir, which is nice. And then we can go for the N, rid him of some cards, and get ourselves a nice fresh hand of 6. I'm gonna... yeah, I think I want to attach this energy. I'm gonna go for the Trainer's Mail as well, first. Getting computer search. I think we've got to take that, really. And I'm going to discard these two. We don't need it. We probably won't need them anymore. So now we've got ourselves a Dusknoir. And I'm thinking about getting myself a Trevenant here. Though I could get a Floatstone. What do I want to do here? We need a way of retreating this Wobbuffet and a way of getting into potentially both next turn. I think I want to get the Trevenant here. Whoops! I just put it back in the deck. I think I want to get a Trevenant here. We have the Juniper for next turn, so I'm going to get the Trevenant. I want to see if I can get a Trevenant break like next turn. So I think that's fine. I do believe our opponent... I think basically what happened was our opponent forgot that we had that he couldn't use the Russian ability, because otherwise I would have presumed he would have got something with the computer search to get this guy out of here. He is indeed setting up a Yveltal on the bench, and does indeed get the AZ, so he's found the way of being able to get rid of this Hooper here. Goes to the VS Seeker. Knows he's probably going to be dealing with a Trevenant next turn. And does indeed go for the Quaking Punch. So, we're just going to go for the Juniper here. Hopefully we can find ourselves a Mystery Energy. Unfortunately we don't. We do get a normal energy though, so... I do suppose we can do 10 damage at least. And start getting some damage on the board. Next time we can actually Jirachi into the Trevenant Break and put 150 on his board. Which means we'll just be 10 off being able to knock out that Yveltal in a turn with Sinister Hand, which is annoying, but still. If he benches another Pokemon, that would be really nice, because then we will have enough to knock out the Yveltal the turn after. In a matchup like this, this is more of a deck where you're going to be wanting to deal with the attacker. He may actually go for the Trevenant or something here. Goes for the Gets this. Okay, gets 3. Doesn't bother me too much, because I think we're going to be Jirachiing this turn anyway. So actually it just sort of rids me of resources that I wouldn't want a Juniper. Does bench another Pokemon, which means we will put enough damage counters on the board to knock out a Yveltal in a turn. Which is really nice. If we can start setting up this second Phantump as well next turn, that would be really, really good. We'll throw up the Jirachi just because it's got free retreat for now. And we get the Dusknoir. Not really useful, so I'm just going to go for the Jirachi. Search for a supporter, and we could go teammates here. What we get off the teammates, we'd get a supporter, so we'd get like a Juniper and a break. I think we should do that. It does mean we'll have to take 2 turns to be able to evolve up this Phantump. I think we need both the break and the... I think we need both the break and the normal here. So I think I'm actually going to go for the Juniper. It may make more sense to take the teammates, but I have to try and go for both. We get the break, so we kind of got what we would have got anyway. So it could be worse. We are going to be going down next turn, I'm pretty sure, just because this Yveltal pretty much one-shots us from any range. But we're still just going to go for Silent Fear. And do 30 to everything, 180 damage, which is really nice. So we can knock out this Yveltal next turn. Goes to the Lysander. On the Dusknoir. Okay, that does make sense. Probably going to rush him through retreat and knock it out with the... Okay, actually goes for the Quaking Punch. That's really interesting. We can Sinister Hand here to take some prizes. So we've got 40, we've got 150. Yeah, let's take some prizes here. Sinister Hand. I think we actually want to knock out this one. So I think we take damage from the one that we want to take damage from. Yeah, that's how I thought it worked. Yeah. So this is going to be pretty long-winded, but we are going to be taking 2 prizes here at some point today. Here we go. If we can get into, I suppose we could actually leave it so both the Shaymins only had 30 HP left, and we could take 4 prizes, but we still need a way of being able to move this Dusknoir, which we don't have at the moment. So we are just going to slowly move all our damage over here. He's probably getting pretty annoyed with how long this is taking. But welcome to Dusknoir Online. Here we go. Nearly there. 140. 150. 160. And 170. Okay, so we get to take 2 prizes here. Hopefully we get a mystery energy. We do get a mystery energy. Okay. So we're going to attach the mystery energy and go through the retreat into the Trevenant Break. Indeed get the Wally as well. So we can go for the Wally to grab a Trevenant as well. We can't use the teammate, so we may as well just go for the Wally and get another Trevenant. Do I want to manipulate this damage anymore? I can't really. I think all I'm going to do is move one from here to the other Shaymin. Not that it helps with the maths too much. I'm hoping he doesn't have any way of being able to pick off his Dusknoir again next turn. So we're just going to go for Silent Fear again. And hopefully we can stop our opponent from doing too much. I can definitely see him sort of rushing through, retreating into the Yveltal and taking out this Trevenant Break next turn. But if we can then teammates for the second Trevenant Break and an energy, and do the same again. In fact, we may even have enough damage to actually take out both of these Shaymins at once unless he picks one up. So perhaps I shouldn't have put the damage on the Shaymins. Perhaps I should have put it on something else, like this Yveltal or something that he doesn't want to have to pick up, because now he's taking off 40 damage rather than, rather than 30, which is pretty nice. So we'll see what our opponent does here. Probably doesn't want to bench another Pokemon. Going to attach another energy. So yeah, he's probably going to be rushing in and free retreating here. Okay, gets a Colress, that's nice. I think he got that a couple of turns ago. Which means we do indeed have a alive and well Dusknoir for us to manipulate the damage of next turn. Gets Verbank in play, so we do need to find D-Valley next turn as well. That's pretty rough. He's not going to Quaking Punch though, so that does mean we have access to a lot more of our deck now. So we do see the big Yveltal come in. Go for the Y Cyclone. And move an energy onto the other Yveltal, I would imagine. Does indeed do that. And we're going to throw up this Jirachi just because it's got free retreat. Okay, we actually get the Trevenant break here, so we might actually be able to just sort of do this anyway. There's 30, 60, 90, 170 damage on the board. So yeah, we definitely can do this turn. Let's move the damage onto here. We could definitely see him concede here just because it's going to take ages for us to actually reach this number. So we want to put both of them at 80. So this one's now on 70. Move 10 off of this one. And then move 40 more onto this Shaymin. So it's on 60. Oh, no. Did it wrong. It's in his hand. Luckily you can do it as many times during your turn, so it doesn't really matter if you do it wrong. It's just kind of annoying. Now we go for the teammates to grab the D-Valley and the energy. There's the energy. There's the Dimension Valley. We free retreat into the Trevenant break. Attach the energy. Play the D-Valley. And go for Silent Fear for 4 prizes. Nice. So yeah, that's kind of what the deck does. It takes it really does. It does really well against Shaymins, but it also sort of takes prizes a lot quicker than a lot of other decks can, especially in like the space of 1 or 2 turns. But yeah, definitely check out this deck. It's probably one of my favourite decks to play at the moment. It's so much fun. So definitely give it a try. Let me know if you want to see some more battles with the deck. I would happily provide you guys with some more battles. It's just so much fun to play, and it feels so good when you actually pull off the combo and get like 6 prizes in a turn. But yeah, so definitely give it a try. Thank you very much for watching, and I've been Jack from Omnipoke, and I will see you all in another video.